This is an impromptu video. Somehow I like doing these type of videos because it actually allows me to just speak freely from my mind and not have to read an article or anything like that. It just allows my thoughts to just run free and really get out what has been sitting on my chest. And this thought right here this video I'm making right here hasn't been sitting on my chest very long, but I think with everything that has been recently going on with the whole Joe Rogan situation and his apologist and people coming to his defense and everything like that, I said this is the perfect time for me to speak about this. Of course, by the time this video has gone up, the live stream that I did about Joe Rogan has already been completed. So I said, let me go ahead and talk about this. And I made this tweet on February 9th, 2022. And I said, this establishment wants to go back to the days when PC could openly call black people that word. I meant to add in there with impunity or without backlash. I forgot to put that in there. I said, shouldn't shock anyone because this is also the same establishment that has an organization named NAMBLA that exists. Now, in case y'all don't know what NAMBLA is, don't feel bad. But the NAMBLA stands for the North American Man Boy Love Association. I kid you not. That is a real organization. Like if you type it into Google, they have a website and everything. I would highly suggest that if you do type it into Google, do not click on that website. It's crazy that that is an actual group and that doesn't get talked about at all. But if you go on the website, should you ever dare go on there, you'll pretty much know why. But we've noticed that over the years and for a long time now that PC has a fixation on that word, and we know what that word is. And I'm just going to, paraphrase it for the sake of this video, just to protect myself. But we know that even though I have said the word in context for other videos, but just for this video, I'm doing it. And a lot of people always want to know why they have an obsession with that word, because there are, believe it or not, some black people out there that don't know why they have an obsession with that word. Well, that's because that word has a very long, and I do mean very long, drawn out history. It's not like the word was just hatched in recent modern history, in modern day history. It goes a long way back. You have to think, this word goes back to slavery and probably even possibly before then. And this was a very derogatory name that was given and thrusted onto black people. So much, in fact, that word got thrown around by PC so much that you would have thought that those were the black people or the slaves. You would have thought that was their birth name, the way that they got called that word. And the thing is, not only would they just call them the word, but they'll probably throw something else behind it. And I said I wasn't going to say the word in this video, but in a way I kind of have to give the examples. Sometimes you'll have them call them a nigger baby, a nigger boy, a nigger bitch, never a man, because they never saw men, the black men during that time. They never saw them as men. They always called them boy, which is derogatory towards black grown men as well. Like that's something that that we as black men, especially when it comes from the mouth of a PC person, do not like. See, that's the thing. When we dig back in our history and all of the derogatory things we've been called by them and just the derogatory things that has been done to us by them, it literally awakens. And that's the part of history they don't want to be taught. They want that to be suppressed as much as possible because they don't want to be seen as who they truly are. That's why you got that individual down in Florida, Ron the Snowflake, pulling all the strings that he possibly can and trying to tighten up all these loose ends so it doesn't come back and fall upon him and people like himself, like creating a so-called bill to not hurt PC's feelings. If you don't get the fuck out of here with that. But anyway, that word has a very long drawn out history when it comes to them and to us, definitely, because that word is derogatory towards us and only us. And it still is drawn out through history all the way to even through to today. Now, here's the thing. There's derogatory slurs that can be used for every other group, but rarely do you ever hear that group be called that slur. And the thing is, I don't live amongst those individuals, so I couldn't tell you. Now, maybe they do use that word amongst themselves, but it has not transcended and gone outside of the realm of their communities like that. if you get what I mean. And I'm not going to really say them on here. Y'all already know what a derogatory slur could be for Hispanic or Latino or an Asian person, a Native American or anything, because everyone has their own slur behind it. Of course, you know, PC, they love them. They say that a slur that's towards them is cracker, even though it holds no weight. Out of all the slurs to be called, that one has the least amount of weight, and I can't even really bring myself to call it a slur, to be quite honest, because it doesn't have any oppressive weight behind it compared to the others, especially the word nigger. And you got to think, not only this being called that word, but it also has been a way to promote black people in a very stereotypical way. It goes all the way back to the caricatures, or, you know, the minstrel shows, you know, blackface and all of that. Like, that's literally how they did it. Like, I remember seeing a picture where, you know, they had black kids in human zoos, and, you know, they would have them on display and call them tar baby or nigger baby, hit the nigger baby and stuff like that. They even had them in songs. So it makes me, it puzzles me when PC claims today that why can't they say it? Or you have black people that say it in songs and stuff like that. When PC, if they did their own historical research, they had that word in songs. If you go back and look, they were in songs, and they had the word with the ER. Like, you can go back and look and listen to the songs that they had. And if they didn't want to call you the N word, they found another way to degrade you while still meaning that word. And not only that, but it was in cartoons. Like, it started to seep into cartoons like the Looney Tunes, like Bugs Bunny, Mickey Mouse, all of that. It was in pop culture even during that time. And see, when you take all of that, you know, where it began, where it was started to transit, once it started to get to entertainment and pop culture, and then, of course, you know, into the, you know, civil rights and everything like that, you start to get an understanding as to why they want to use that word openly. It's because they, in their heart, feel like nothing should happen to them should they say that word, because they were the ones that kicked it off. They feel like, we created the word, why can't we say it? You know, because at that time, being called that word was not seen as a slur. In its origins, it wasn't a slur. It was just a regular word that was a part of their vocabulary. But then once it became a slur, they felt like something was being taken away from them. And they do not like when something is taken away from them, even though if you look across every corner of this globe, they've been known to take a lot from various groups of people, whether it's resources, lands, hell, taking whole families, cultures, names, lineages. And a lot of that could be towards black people, just on the examples that I gave. So they want to have all rights to that word, but when it became a slur, they had to begin starting to censor themselves. Some of them, not all of them, but some of them. But then what's happening is black people said, you know what? We know that was a derogatory word towards us, and it still is, but we're going to remix the word, and we're going to take the ER off, and we're going to replace it with an A. And instead of saying nigger, we're going to say nigga. Because, you know, black people, we love a remix. We love remixing every damn thing. Let's be honest. So then it was still in pop culture, but then it started to leave the mouths of black entertainers, comedians, actors, and everything like that. If you look back at shows back in the, you know, day, and you will hear it every now and then. Actually, matter of fact, one of my favorite or funniest episodes of Sanford and Son was when it was this random guy who came over to the house claiming to be Lamont's son, and not son, but his father. And Aunt Esther was there, and she was sitting on the couch next to him, and he said, I am Lamont's father. And she looked at him with this like look of disdain, like, huh? And I remember she got up, looked at him and said, what did you say, nigga? I was cracking up because of how she said it, and it just came out of her mouth so naturally, to the point where Red Fox, who of course played Fred Sanford, was sitting across from her and literally had to like smile, because I don't think that was in the script. So he pretty much almost broke character. Like, they had to quickly cut the camera away from him and put it back onto her, because he was smiling. And you always know that Fred and Aunt Esther never got along. So for him to laugh like that with her, saying that was interesting. Of course, Fred said it every now and then. George Jefferson said it. James Evans said it. So that word made its rounds in a lot of black sitcoms, and stand-up comedians were saying it and everything like that. And that's why Joe Rogan came out and said what he said. He said, well, they said that back then. Well, why can't I say it? Well, I'm going to quote something that the Amazing Lucas says. You're not Red Fox. You're not Richard Pryor. You're not John Amos. You're not Sherman Hemsley. You're Joe Rogan, this PC Italian man. You have no right, none, to saying that word without being checked. And that's the point. And that's what's got them riled up, because they're upset because black people, they keep saying left is this and left is that. They're talking about black people, because black people are the only ones I know that really got in his ass about it. It might have been some others in there, but it was mainly black people. Let's be real here. But they don't want to even say that. It's amazing they talk about censorship, but even they are censoring themselves. They can't even bring themselves to type out the whole word on Twitter. I talked about it with that Saad God or God Saad, whatever his name is. He couldn't even say the whole word, type out the whole F word. And then you have people, they say left this and it's code speak, because they don't want to say black, because they already know what will happen. And that goes back to why they feel so offended right now. Not just with this word, but with anything. They always saying, why are you trying to replace us? They're basically dog whistling, saying that, they're trying to throw themselves into an oppressed class based on the fact that they can't exercise their freedom of speech without the small print saying there's consequences behind your free speech. See, at one time, their free speech was unfiltered, meaning there was no strings attached, no small print. They could say whatever they wanted to whoever they wanted, and no one was going to check them. But nowadays, people are checking them, and they're upset about that. And that's how they feel they're so oppressed. Not because of their race or ethnicity, not because of their class, not anything worth being oppressed over, but because they can't say the shit that they and their ancestors, more importantly, could get away with. They're upset because they're probably mad at their ancestors because they had what in their eyes, their ancestors were so free to do whatever they wanted. But it's a new day, and they can't get away with the shit that their ancestors did. If they could, trust and believe, it would be hell on earth, but it would be a struggle, because I'm certain there's a lot of black people that would not let that slide. At least not without a fight. I'm willing to bet that if they tried to reenact chattel slavery today, black people, well, you'll probably have some that'll probably willingly go, but there's going to be plenty that won't. And if the people that willingly go, I suggest the ones that who bootlick all the damn time, the ones who kiss ass all the time, the ones who think that the white man's ice is colder and his woman is thinking that his is the best thing since sliced bread. They are the first to go. And if they don't feel like going, I think the people that who push back against it, such as myself, we should shove them right into it and pull down the fence and say that there's your little pickaninnies, send them to work. Since they want to be all up under you, now they have their chance. But yeah, they have a huge fixation on this word because they feel like they own it. They feel like they own this word. So they feel like, let's go ahead and say it. Like, let's go ahead and tell it, say it with impunity and no one, to check us and everything like that. But like I said, the world is way different than it was 50, 60 something odd years ago and beyond. We gonna talk our shit. And it's not gonna be one-sided. It's not gonna be biased either. It's going to definitely be raw and uncut. But we going to get off what we have to say. And we're going to continue to say it. And that's what pisses them off. They are scared. To me, it's like a fear thing. I think they're just fearful of the direction that this world is going in. And they're just losing it. They scared of 2045 or 2035, whatever, comes first. They saw that National Geographic article back in I think it was like 2008 or whatever it was, and got spooked. I remember I did a video talking about a couple years ago how they said in Texas around 2022, which it is now, that the Hispanic population would dethrone the PC population as the #1 demographic in Texas. And I think I read a couple weeks ago that it has occurred. So they were actually right about that. So if they're right about that, then that 2035 might actually be true. But yeah, it's just funny to me that this is what they get so-called oppressed about, and then have the nerve to call us snowflakes. They going around here on social media losing their damn minds. Not only them, but their co-colonizing cohorts who are non-white, backing them up and everything, like, you know, all of that shit. It's pathetic at the end of the day. Like this, like you are going out of your way to want to say that word without being checked. And again, like I said, if you know your history, you can literally check them. Like when they bring up the music, just say, oh, the same way your ancestors used that word in their music back even further than that. And what I think they're upset about is that that black people took a derogatory term, remixed it, and made it popular in a non-derogatory way. They hate the hell out of that because, like I said, it goes back to them ownership of the word. And now that they feel like they don't own the word anymore and it's become so popular, now they're upset about it. You even have PC calling other PC people that word. Like, what? It's gotten to that point. Anyone who's inside of those game chats or whatever, they call each other that word. Now let's talk about that. They want to come at black people saying we shouldn't call each other that word. They got people in their community calling each other that word, and they don't even fit the damn description. It's like, wow, y'all really want that word back so bad that you're calling each other that. And y'all cannot tell me that they're not. There has been videos of that being shown of them calling themselves that, calling each other that word. It's like, what is so... you know what? I almost answered my own question. I've always said that black people, especially black Americans, are the trendsetters of the world. Whatever we say pretty much goes in the direction. And if we no longer messing with it, then it's dead. It's done. Once we put it down, don't even try picking it back up. I mean, you can try but have that same effect. Look at what happened with those black TikTokers last year. When TikTok, was promoting the PC counterparts that was doing their dances and whatever, and the black TikTokers decided they were going to boycott. What ended up happening? The white TikTokers didn't have nowhere to go. They tried to create their own thing, or they tried to remix what they had already did or had already taken or stolen from the black ones, and it looked a hot ass mess. So it's safe to say that their boycott, for however how long it lasted, actually worked. But yeah, they love that word. They are in, you know what? Not love. That's not a good word to use. They are in lust with that word. That's all you got to ask. That's all you, to black people out there listening, just ask them the next time. Why do you have an obsession with wanting to say that word? And I'm telling you, they're going to give you some of the most basic, repetitive answers. Oh, and one of them, of course, is going to be because it's in the songs. Because black people call it to each other. So they figure because black people call it to each other, that it's just a language that's just for everybody to use. Right? But Whoopi Goldberg said what she said on The View, and she gets suspended for 2 weeks. Make it make sense. See, that's the thing. They feel like everything that we have or everything that we claim is ours belongs to them. I mean, we can go back through history and see that. The music is a perfect start. We created every genre of music, yet they lay claim to two major ones that they literally have created their own enclaves in, and that would be country and rock. They going for hip hop next. Excuse me. They are coming for it, and they're coming hard. I mean, they already own the record labels, so they already got it on the business side. Now all they got to do is get it with more artists. But you know what's so crazy? The majority of hip hop consumers, as far as people who buy their albums, are young PC males, teenagers, and have been for a very long time. So on the consumer side, they got that locked. Like, I know this for a fact because I remember working a couple of hip hop concerts, rap concerts, and it's a very diverse crowd. I remember I worked the Kendrick Lamar concert a couple years ago. It was a lot of PC people in there and knew the words. The landscape is a whole lot different today than it was then. Because, you know, one time they wanted to boycott hip hop. They said it was, oh, hell, let's just put the cards on the table. It was nigga music. They didn't say that, but that's what they wanted to say. Again, because they're mad because they can't say that. Excuse me. But to them, it was nigga music. But now, it's so popular, so trendy, it's everybody's music. Notice how whenever it's something that's ours, and it's just ours, and then they get a hold of it, then it becomes everybody's shit. At the beginning, when people were supporting BLM, it was Black Lives Matter. Oh, no, we can't do that because, you know, we got inclusive. We got to be inclusive. I know. Let's call it All Lives Matter. Really? Then they took it a step further and said that the police were being oppressed. So let's change the B in black and make it blue and call it Blue Lives Matter. As if blue is a human skin color. Usually people who are blue probably are dead. So it goes beyond just, you know, like I said, it all goes back to them wanting control and ownership of every damn thing that we create or do. And if they can't get ownership of it, they'll find a way to destroy it, i.e. Black Wall Street. I just did a video talking about a black-owned business in a mall who they tried to get shut down, or they gave him a pink slip because he was making more money than a lot of the other competitors around him that are white-owned. And they thought he wasn't going to make that much money. This man made like $1 million during a pandemic in the first year of his store opening in that mall. And they got scared of the competition. So what do? And basically after an incident that happened outside or maybe inside of his store that he had no control of and didn't know it was going to happen. So that was their way of trying to, or maybe even getting him up out of there. Y'all probably remember the video that I'm talking about. It was the guy that owned that shoe store. I think it was a combination of a shoe store and a clothing store. They, like I'm telling you, underhanded stuff, even down to the movements we have. Speaking of Move, 1985, dropped a duffel bag of C4 on a block in Philadelphia, killing hundreds of black people. And one thing they don't tell you is the ones that survived that tried to climb out of the rubble got shot on sight. They didn't want no living victims. 1985. That's not talked about anymore. Hell, it's not even anymore. Would imply that it's been talked about in the last couple of years. It's not talked about at all. People don't know what Move is. And it happened in 1985. It's not even 40 years old. They'll talk about any other atrocity, but when it came to the atrocities of black people, they will find a way to cover it up. Move, I did not learn about that in my history book. I didn't learn about Black Wall Street in my history book. I had to look that up myself or had people tell me about it. But they made sure to hit you over the head with the I Have a Dream bastardized version of MLK. Or I sat in the back of the bus because my feet was tired. But actually, when I was really sitting in the back, I was really actually sitting where I should have been sitting at. But because a white man wanted to sit there, Rosa Parks, they'll all, so I had to go to jail. That Rosa Parks. They always talk about her. They sent, and it's February too. Notice that all the stuff that happens in the month of February, like it's a whole bunch of stuff always happens in February during Black History Month, the shortest month, might I add. When it comes to black people and our plight, every single time. Y'all don't think that's a coincidence? Look at all the stuff that's happened this month. You had Brian Flores' situation with the NFL. You have Amir Locke, Joe Rogan, Whoopi Goldberg. All of that leads back to black people. And it's only the second week of the month at the time of me recording this video. We still have all of next week and the week after that, and the last day of the month, I believe, is on a Monday, the 28th. Interesting. But I'm going to go ahead and end the video on that note. I think I pretty much got my point across. There's probably so many other things I could say. That's why I say I like impromptu videos. But the con to it is that there might be some things that I forget and leave out, because when I get into the motion of it, I might forget some things. And I don't write anything down. It's just off the dome. But y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. If you are new, make sure you go and hit that bell to have the notifications turned on to all, so you can be notified every time I upload a new video or go live.